After losing my memory, I mistook the hitman for my husband. When he burst through the door, I was in the shower. "Hubby, could you scrub my back?" I called out. Something hard pressed against my lower back, and a man's deep voice replied. "The bullets is already loaded. What's left to scrub?" I ran away, blushing furiously. "Ugh, you pervert!" The man stared at the gun in his hand, lost in thought. Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. My husband has been acting a bit strange lately. Apart from that time he barged into the bathroom and pressed against me from behind. He hasn't crossed any lines since. Good heavens. If I had known, I wouldn't have played coy back then. I just wanted to play a little game of come and get me with him. Why did he stop pursuing me? Since then, he blushes at the slightest touch from me. But he stubbornly refuses to fulfill his marital duties. Today, I overheard him on the phone with someone. "She's not fully recovered yet, I can't make a move." No, I only act on healthy individuals. That's my bottom line. Don't rush me. When she's better, I'll naturally make my move. So that's the reason? A few weeks ago, I was in a car accident and woke up with amnesia. My husband stayed by my side for several nights, taking care of me with utmost attention. The doctors and nurses all said I was lucky, and I felt fortunate too. After all, not everyone has a tall, handsome husband with six-pack abs. But lately, my husband has been acting really strange. Even when I put on the latest style of nightwear, he still shows extreme restraint. Even if I follow him to his study, even if his trousers look like they're about to burst, he ignores me. But now, I've finally heard his answer. It turns out he's still worried that my body hasn't fully recovered. I almost cried out loud. My husband is truly wonderful. I love him so much. As the phone call ended, Elijah turned around and saw me. His body instantly stiffened, and he pressed his lips together unnaturally. "When did you come in? How much did you hear?" I said softly. "Elijah, you've been holding back these past few days since I left the hospital, haven't you?" A flash of coldness passed through the man's eyes as he repeated. "How do you know I've been holding back?" As he spoke, his hand slowly moved downward, as if he was reaching for something, or trying to hide something. I looked in that direction. Oh. It was bulging. Huh. Men are so easily teased. I barely made a move, and he was already on the edge of losing control. I caught his hand like lightning and scolded. "Don't hold back anymore. I'm your wife, it's my duty to help you solve your problem." Elijah said, enunciating each word. "Do you know what my problem is?" I playfully hit his chest, blushing. "You naughty boy, do you really need me to say it out loud?" Then I reached over and gave his problem a little squeeze. His problem instantly transformed from a sponge to granite. The man let out a muffled groan, his face turning red as he pushed me away. "What are you doing?" I replied matter-of-factly, "Helping you solve your problem, of course." In the end, Elijah didn't let me solve the problem. He went to take a cold shower. I leaned against the wall, listening to the sound of running water in the bathroom, watching the shadowy figure reflected in the glass door. My heart felt a bit itchy. I couldn't help but speak up with concern. "Hubby, do you need any help?" The man flatly refused, "No need." But suddenly I became deaf. My hands also stopped obeying me. I involuntarily turned the doorknob. Huh? What? The water's too loud, I can't hear clearly. "I'm coming in." The moment I opened the bathroom door, Elijah hastily grabbed a towel, fumbling to wrap it around his waist. I swallowed hard. The cold white light shone on him, illuminating his broad shoulders and narrow waist. Smooth muscle lines, and skin as white as porcelain. And the color on his chest was actually pink. Bloody hell. How could such a specimen exist? Was I eating this well before I lost my memory? I want to eat. I want to devour him whole. Elijah coldly looked at me. "Get out." I reluctantly tore my gaze away, saying, "No." He laughed in exasperation, not bothering to speak, and turned to leave. But the bathroom door was too narrow, and I was blocking it. For him to leave, he'd have to squeeze past me. Just as he was about to pass through the doorway, I stretched out my long, beautiful leg and braced it against the glass door, blocking his path. Elijah stared at me expressionlessly. "What are you doing?" Our breaths mingled. I clearly saw the water droplets on his body that hadn't been wiped away, sliding down along his muscle lines, disappearing into the Adonis belt hidden by the towel. I swallowed again, saying sincerely, "I want you." Elijah closed his eyes in exasperation. "Move," I said. "Hubby, I don't want to." Before I could finish, the man who could no longer endure it picked me up in one swift motion and threw me onto the bed. God! I knew he wanted me too. The bed was soft, and I fell into the duvet, my skirt riding up to my waist. Elijah looked down at me, his sharp jawline clear and defined, his eyes dark and stormy, as if brewing a tempest. I immediately struck a pose, saying softly, "Hubby, I've really recovered, we can." Elijah gave me a long look, then leaned down towards me. His pink chest got closer and closer. Come on. Don't hold back. Ravish me." The next second, the man grabbed the duvet and tucked me in tightly. "Don't catch a cold." Then he turned and left, slamming the door shut. "What? Elijah Wilson, are you even a man?" I asked my best friend. "What if a man blushes when he sees you, but never wants to touch you? What's going on?" Without hesitation, she replied, "He's impotent." I quickly clarified, "Impossible. His physiological functions are normal and robust. I've personally verified." "My friend, personally? Who is this guy?" I shyly typed, "It's my husband." She responded, "What? You have a new husband? Which celebrity is it?" I replied, "Never mind that. This time it's real. My friend, then maybe he's had his fill elsewhere. You should keep an eye on him. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. If he dares to do this, let him go." You know what? Although this best friend is just a gaming buddy I met after losing my memory, her understanding of human nature is still quite valuable. So, has Elijah been satisfied elsewhere? I'm so beautiful, how dare he be satisfied elsewhere? The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I immediately went to confront Elijah, but I found he had already fallen asleep. His phone was locked, of course. I didn't know the password, but I found a note in his desk drawer. It read, "Name, Josie Green. Age, 25. Favorite fruits, watermelon, lychee, pear. Favorite drink, apple and elderflower cordial. Favorite animals, ragdoll cat, West Highland White Terrier, T-Rex. Favorite sleeping position, basic plus forced. Biggest dream, to become queen." On the back of the note was Elijah's handwriting. "Remember everything she likes. Hit the mark every time." This note was worn yellow and fuzzy from being handled so much. I held it, feeling an indescribable emotion welling up inside me. After the car accident, I forgot many of my memories from before. But someone had carefully written down every little detail about me on this paper. I didn't even remember that I liked forced love, but Elijah still remembered. How could I have doubted his sincerity towards me? I should be ashamed of myself. I heard a slight movement behind me. As I turned around, Elijah had woken up, looking at me warily. "What are you looking at?" The man's voice was deep. I waved the note in my hand. "Your evidence of guilt." Elijah's face changed instantly. He got out of bed and approached me step by step, until he cornered me against the wall. A perfect position for a cabin. Elijah's heartbeat was fast and urgent, deafening. What did this mean? He was nervous because of me. When a man's heart races for a woman. If this isn't love, what is? I unconsciously glanced at myself. Well, I was dressed a bit sexy today. A low-cut spaghetti strap nightgown. No wonder Elijah couldn't control himself. Suddenly I heard his husky voice. "My evidence of guilt? Tell me, what have you found?" As he spoke, he slowly raised his hand, dangerously caressing my neck, as if he could take away my breath at any moment. I grabbed his hand and slowly moved it down my neck. Hubby, be brave. I waved the note in my hand and said seriously. The fact that you love me can no longer be hidden. Why don't we practice for real? After seeing the note clearly, Elijah seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and quickly tried to leave. But I refused to let go, firmly holding his hand. Let go, the man's breathing became rapid. In the midst of our back and forth, the strap of my nightgown slipped off opportunely. The man's hand, without bias, took on the role of the strap. The moment our skin touched, Elijah froze. His ears turning red, his Adam's apple bobbing unnaturally. Ouch, you're hurting me, I looked at him innocently. Hubby, how are you going to take responsibility for this? That night, I finally crawled into Elijah's bed. Because I told him he'd bruised my chest. I said there was a good chance I might suddenly fall ill in the night. So he had to stay by my side, not leaving for a moment. Elijah had no choice but to give in. As the night deepened, Elijah seemed to have fallen asleep, his breathing shallow. I couldn't sleep, so I got up to secretly study his abs and his snow-white, full pecs. I must have often kissed and nibbled on them before. You greedy girl, eating so well. When you're starving, you really hate your past self. Just as I was trying to pull his trousers down a bit, Elijah alertly grabbed my wrist. His voice held a warning, "What are you doing?" I said earnestly, "Hubby, I think you might have been bruised too." "I'm just checking you over." Elijah said coldly, "Go to sleep." Now I was really unhappy. I directly flipped over and sat on top of him. "Is that how you talk to your wife?" Elijah's body was incredibly stiff, and the part one was sitting on was equally rigid. I went further, twisting my hips forcefully. The man let out a muffled groan, cupping my bottom to lift me up, and gritted out a sentence. "Josie, we're not the kind of couple you think we are." "What does that mean?" "Don't want to admit it?" I smirked coldly. "What kind of relationship is that? Just strangers?" Elijah was even colder, silently nodding his head. I slapped him across the chest, leaving a red mark on his pale skin. Blimey. It felt so good, perfectly firm. I couldn't help but secretly enjoy it for a second. The man looked up at me in disbelief. "You hit me?" His lips were as red as his chest. Tempting, but I had to resist. "You say we're strangers? Then why did you stay by my side for a whole week without sleep after my car accident? And why did you write notes about my preferences? Saying you needed to remember them to hit the mark? Not to mention after I was discharged. You made me soup every day, soaked my feet, and even gave me massages. Is that how you treat every random stranger? Why hasn't Britain's Got Talent given you an award yet?" Elijah's lips were tightly pressed together as he turned his head away, refusing to look at me. The man's chest was rising and falling, moving so beautifully that I almost forgave him again. Just as my hand was about to reach out and touch him against my better judgment, Elijah spoke coldly. "Think what you want, but we're not in a relationship where we can just sleep together casually." I was furious. I was truly furious. Although Elijah was handsome with a great body and had suppressed deep feelings for me, that was no reason for him to reject me time and time again. A beauty like me, where couldn't I find a handsome guy? Did I really have to hang myself on this crooked tree? My best friend sympathized with my plight and invited me to the nightclub. She said she'd set me up with 8 model-like guys to comfort my wounded heart. That day, I put on full makeup, changed into a seductive short skirt, slipped on my black stockings, and was ready to go out. Elijah was in the kitchen making me a healthy soup when he saw me and blocked my way, frowning. "Where are you going?" See that? He cared about me. I lifted my chin haughtily and said, "You're not my husband, why do you care where I go?" Elijah coldly replied, "You're not well yet, you can't catch a chill." Just because of that? I gritted my teeth. You think I'm not well, but there are plenty who think I'm fine and want to party with me all night. The man suddenly pinned me against the door and repeated in a low voice. I said, "You're not well yet, you can't abuse your body." I was furious and slapped him on the chest. My mind went blank for 2 seconds. Oh my. The familiar feeling came back. Since our argument 3 days ago, I hadn't been talking to him. But my body didn't stop wanting him. I often dreamed of seeing him in the bathroom. His muscle lines were clearly defined, but his skin was porcelain cold white. Amidst the cold white chest were two pink points, like winter plum blossoms in the snow. Finally, I had a legitimate reason to hit his chest again. Come on, Josie. Keep being angry. Press on with the attack. I swallowed and happily slapped him several more times. Then both my wrists were grabbed by him and raised above my head. Elijah pinned my wrists with one hand, his expression dangerous. Addicted to hitting, are you? Jesus. My husband isn't just handsome, he can read minds too. Give me one reason not to love him. I quickly changed tactics and said softly, Hubby, I'm only addicted to you. Elijah smiled ambiguously, weren't you planning to party all night with others? I waved my hand dismissively, they're just hotels, but you're my home. The man's eyes cooled, and he let go of me disinterestedly, saying calmly, I'm not your home. You can leave. With that, he really released me and turned to walk towards the kitchen. How could I let him go just like that? I immediately chased after him and hugged his waist. Hubby, darling, I was lying to you. You're the only one in my heart. There's never been any model guys or all-night partying. My heart only belongs to you, my love. Elijah's expression softened a bit as he looked down at me. Is that the truth? I nodded frantically, and my little hand unconsciously slipped under his shirt, climbing up along his abs. This time, the man didn't resist. He just gently closed his eyes. The evening glow shone in, casting a faint halo on Elijah's face. His eyelashes fluttered slightly, as if unconsciously craving more. I stood on tiptoes, wanting to kiss his rosy lips. The next second, the doorbell rang. Elijah seemed to snap back to reality instantly, pushing me away to answer the door. I clung to him, refusing to let go. Babe, don't mind them. Let's continue. The man said with restraint. You've run out of your stomach medicine. This should be the delivery I ordered. I'll just grab it quickly. He had finally given in to me once, and now the mood was ruined by the interruption. I jumped onto him like a koala, hugging him and refusing to let go. Then carry your wife to get it. Elijah chuckled helplessly, his smile seeming a bit indulgent, but it vanished in an instant. He carried me to open the door. The next second, a few handsome faces peeked in from outside. Hello. Is Josie home? We're here to pick her up for the nightclub. Sitting in the car, I couldn't shake off my nervousness. It wasn't just because the lads in the car were all quite fit. It was more because of Elijah's expression before I left. For a moment, his face turned so dark it could have rained. He stared at me and said slowly, You seem to have quite a few hotels to visit. Then he heartlessly handed me over to the men from the club. He also tossed me a long coat. This man. Really. How should I put it? Even in his fury, he still remembered to care about me not catching a cold. I felt a bit guilty. But considering my bestie had already paid for the model guys in full, it seemed a bit unfair to her wallet if I didn't go through with it. So I steeled myself and entered the private room. The lads were all handsome in their own ways. Some with a sunny disposition, others more like puppies. They charmed me to no end, and I had several drinks with them. In the corner sat a lad named Corey, whose aura was very similar to Elijah's, cold and unapproachable. The alcohol was starting to hit me, so I went over to sit with him. God is my witness, I'm not a fickle woman. I was just using him as a stand-in for Elijah. Give or take, I'm still quite loyal. Corey glanced at me. Fancy a drink, love? I'd had quite a bit to drink, so I wasn't really thirsty. But considering he might want to do the romantic glass-linking thing, I couldn't be rude. So I put my arm around his shoulder and nodded. Corey produced an apple and elderflower cordial from somewhere, which smelled oddly sweet. I gave him a heart sign with my hands and slurred. How'd you know this is my favorite? Corey looked at me with an ambiguous smile. It's a secret. As he said this, he leaned in close, his breath hot. He tempted, drink up, and all your pain will be gone. Why did that sound a bit off? Never mind. Can't expect the model guy to have passed their A-levels. He probably just wanted to ease my impending hangover. but was rubbish at expressing himself. I cheerfully took the glass, about to down it in one go. Suddenly, the glass was snatched away. It was Elijah. Elijah's breathing was rapid, and sweat beaded on his forehead. He must have run here. He raised his hand and poured the apple and elderflower cordial into the bin. Not a drop remained. Corey's expression instantly soured. Come to cause trouble, have you? At that moment, my feelings were complicated. A little voice in my head danced. He cares about me. He's jealous. Another voice shouted, how rude. What a waste! As I was struggling with how to react, Elijah, without a word, grabbed my arm and started to leave. Corey leapt up, blocking our path. He stared at Elijah, his face dark. Mate, what's this about? Elijah looked at him coldly, his voice devoid of emotion. She's mine. Corey snorted as if he'd heard a joke. Yours? All I know is that some people can't carry out the task, so I have to step in. Task? Step in? I looked at Elijah, confused. What's he on about? Elijah's expression flickered with panic for a second before he regained his composure. He means I can't satisfy you, so he had to show up. Oh. Well, Corey wasn't wrong. It was because Elijah wouldn't satisfy me that I called for the model guy. Corey's expression was somewhat amused. Is this how you always interact with her? Elijah didn't answer. Corey had a look of sudden realization. Don't tell me you've fallen for her. Elijah remained silent. Corey clicked his tongue. How embarrassing. He jerked his chin at me, lazily saying, Oi, do you know he's not actually? Elijah's fist connected with his face. Two men were fighting over me, their fists flying in a furious brawl. Elijah's punches were quick and vicious, landing with brutal force. He fought like a wolf, all teeth and claws. Corey was no pushover either. Even cornered against the wall, he still had the energy to taunt. All this for a woman, he sneered. You're pathetic. I can't believe you. Why don't you just retire early and let me take the top spot? Elijah didn't bother to respond, focusing instead on pummeling Corey into the ground. I stood there, mouth agape, and shouted, Stop it, both of you. My best friend and the other tipsy lads suddenly sobered up. They scrambled to pull the two apart. Corey's face was a mess of bruises. My friend pulled him into her arms, tending to his wounds while taking advantage of the situation. I was about to do the same for Elijah, but he beat me to it, wrapping me in his embrace. His voice was uncharacteristically urgent. Don't listen to his nonsense. You're not just a task to me. I really. Elijah's face grew redder with each attempt, stumbling over his words as he tried to express himself. I started to worry he might suffocate from the effort. That would be a shame. I'd lose my pale, cuddly bear of a husband. After a moment's thought, I tilted my head up and kissed him softly on the lips. I gently nipped and teased, as tender as could be. Elijah froze for a second, then closed his eyes and began to respond. At first, he was restrained, but soon his kisses grew more passionate. By the end, it felt like he wanted to meld me into his very being. I wrapped my arms around his neck, nuzzling my face into the crook of his shoulder. Hubby, you don't need to say it. I understand. I'm your wife, the one you love. You love me, just as I love you. Isn't that right? After a long pause, Elijah nodded slightly. His voice was hoarse when he spoke. You're right. In that moment, all was right with the world. The music in the nightclub softened. The 7 model guys and my best friend watched us with smiles. It was as if the whole universe was blessing our love. But then Corey's furious shout broke the spell. Let me go! I'll kill those shameless lovebirds. Elijah ignored him, sweeping me up into his arms. He carried me out of the nightclub and into the endless night. Josie, I'll keep you safe, he said slowly and seriously, as if making a solemn vow. I feel like I must have drunk a lot of dodgy booze that day. Because my brain clearly underwent some changes. It hurt, and then, amidst the pain, I regained some of my old memories. Not much came back, and it was slow. But at least something returned. For instance, last week I suddenly remembered that I seemed to have a little dog. a West Highland White Terrier, white and silly, whose favorite hobby was stealing my smelly socks. And a couple of days ago, I abruptly recalled that my family seemed to be quite wealthy. My parents loved me dearly, and said they wanted to groom me as their heir. Facing my memory recovery, Elijah didn't seem as happy. He often silently watched me, but quickly averted his gaze the moment I noticed. Like a puppy about to be abandoned. That day, after I finished the health tonic soup he had made, I tapped my fingers on the table. "Hubby, you seem a bit different lately." Elijah froze for a second, then awkwardly said, "How so?" I tilted my head, thinking. "Recently, you've been going out a lot, seeming very busy. And when you come home, you look a bit unhappy." Elijah's breathing seemed to pause for a moment. He was nervous. I sighed softly. "Have you fallen for another woman? Or rather, are you heartbroken?" After a brief silence, he said flatly, "Nothing of the sort, don't overthink it." I rested my chin on my hand, looking at him. "But hubby, I can't shake the feeling that I'm actually single." Elijah stiffened for a moment, his beautiful lips slightly pursed, his long neck bowing slightly, as if waiting for some kind of verdict. I continued. "I remember having a very beautiful home, with a little dog that often played on my bed. I called myself its mummy and said I needed to find it a daddy. If I were married, wouldn't the dog already have a daddy?" Elijah looked up at me, his eyes seeming a bit sad. I went on. "Moreover, if you were really my husband, why wouldn't you take me home to see Mom and Dad? I've been in a car accident, they must be very worried about me, right?" Elijah pursed his lips, his eyelashes falling in despair as he said softly, "Since you've figured it out, then we can throw off the shackles of convention." I sat on his lap, gently coaxing. "Hubby, can I call you Mummy when we're playing?" "I really want to call you Mummy." The man said nothing, just got up and left. I chased after him, speaking in a coquettish voice, "Mummy, where are you going?" Without looking back, the man replied, "To run you a bath." After a passionate conversation in bed with Mummy, Elijah went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. I logged on to play games with my bestie online. She asked me, "You really don't mind that he lied to you?" I lazily played the game while replying, "He only lied because he loves me too much. He dreams of being my husband." I'm touched beyond words, why would I mind? My friend was speechless for a moment, then stole my blue buff. Enraged, I turned on my mic. "Best friends should be fair, if you keep this up, I'll..." Before I could finish, a sharp pain shot through my head. In my memory, someone else had spoken to me like this before. "Josie, siblings should be fair. If you keep this up, I'll..." And I had replied with an iciness I'd never used before. "If you lack the skills, just admit defeat. Only losers talk big." The sunset stretched that person's shadow long. I mercilessly stepped on his shadow as I walked towards the luxurious, spacious office, completely ignoring his cold curse behind me. "Josie, you'll have your moment of falling from grace." I didn't even look back. To the victor, the loser is no different from an ant on the ground. Even a glance is too much. I never look back. Moonlight fell through the gap in the curtains. My vision blurred white. Until my friend's frantic shouting came through the headset. "Josie, what are you doing? The useless jungler stole all the minions. Did you disconnect?" I blinked, instinctively looking around. This was the home Elijah and I shared, the bed still holding traces of intimacy. Those strange images and sounds from earlier seemed to have never existed. Yet, they felt so familiar. Elijah takes excellent care of me. At home, I don't lift a finger. All I need to do is eat, drink, pamper myself, and occasionally indulge my beloved husband. My hubby has been increasingly proactive lately, full of creative ideas. He often makes me beg for mercy before he's satisfied. It's like our roles have reversed. But I still want to go out and play. Staying at home all day will make me moldy. Reluctantly, Elijah wraps me up tightly and takes me out shopping. I complain, "Shouldn't you show off your beautiful wife to everyone?" He coaxes me, "Once eye contact. I promise I'll let you walk proudly on the streets, all right?" I sense that the words he swallowed are important. But when I ask again, he refuses to say more. This shopping trip is similar to previous ones. Particularly safe. Except for a few girls who glanced at me twice, only to be glared away by Elijah. And a few lads who looked at Elijah twice, only to be glared away by me. Nothing else happened. It's not as terrifying as Elijah imagined. The world is quite safe, you know. After shopping to my heart's content, I feel the need to use the loo. Elijah instructs me, "I'll wait for you right outside the toilet." I nod and dash into the bathroom. As I come out, my mask falls off. A graceful lady bends down to pick it up for me. I thank her profusely. She smiles gently and turns to wash her hands. But the moment she sees my face in the mirror, her expression suddenly changes. "Josie?" I was taken aback. "Do you know me?" Her expression changed several times, as if she wanted to say something but held back. Finally, she said warmly, "You're alive. Why haven't you gone home?" I cautiously asked, "Do you know my family?" The beautiful woman looked at me intently and said gently, "Your brother misses you very much. If he knew you were alive, he'd be desperate to find you." I instinctively felt something was off. Just as I was about to slip away, she grabbed my wrist. "It's been so long. How about a cup of tea?" I tried hard to shake her off, but her grip was like iron. She was making a call while forcefully holding on to me. Bloody hell, taking advantage of me being ill, are you? Just as I was about to bite her, Elijah pulled me away. I didn't even see how he moved. But that elegant woman fell into the toilet, looking utterly disheveled. I stammered as I looked at him, This is the ladies' room." Fortunately, there was no one else around. Elijah rubbed his forehead and said sorry to the air. Then he grabbed my hand and we ran. The man ran very fast, and I could barely keep up. So he picked me up on his back, his pace steady enough to run a marathon. I was truly impressed with myself. In such a chaotic moment, I managed to steal a glance down his shirt collar from above. As expected, I saw beautiful pale skin with a hint of pink. Sweat beads slowly slid down his muscular contours. Pecs, abs, V-line. I was mesmerized again. "Mommy." I pressed my lips to Elijah's ear and asked in a coquettish voice. "Mommy, are you taking me to elope?" But he was unromantic, closing his eyes bitterly. "I don't have the right to elope with you." I pinched his slender waist lightly, exasperated. "If I say you have the right, then you do." At the busy intersection, people were coming and going. Elijah was waiting for his Uber, which was taking forever to arrive. He decided to hail a taxi instead. A black cab was approaching us when suddenly, out of nowhere, several dark sedans forced it to stop. What the hell? This was a main road in the city center. Passers-by turned to look, muttering disapproval under their breath. The black cars, oblivious to the commotion, blocked the taxi and came to a halt right in the middle of the street. A group of men in dark suits emerged from the vehicles, quickly zeroing in on Elijah and me. In a split second, Elijah hoisted me onto his back and started sprinting. As the wind rushed past us, my heart was racing. I shouted, "Come clean with me, have you been sleeping with someone else's husband?" Elijah chuckled, "You're the only one for me, love." I pressed on, "Then why are we running?" Elijah, panting, his voice irritatingly sexy, replied, "I don't want you getting hurt." "Oh, is that all?" I wriggled free from his back and calmly spoke up. "Hubby, don't you know? No matter how tough these goons think they are, as long as we're surrounded by the general public, we're invincible." Elijah ignored my dramatic declaration and positioned himself in front of me, warily eyeing the men in black suits who were slowly closing in on us. "Josie, when I say so, you run." "Run where?" We were in the middle of the city center, surrounded by CCTV cameras. Not to mention the countless Brits who live for a bit of drama, probably filming us from every angle on their mobiles. And seriously, were these black-suited blokes complete idiots? Blocking a main road like this? Were they trying to give the traffic wardens an easy quota at the end of the month? Car horns blared in a cacophony. And who knows how many angry drivers had already dialed 999. Did these Muppets think they looked cool or something? The leader of the group turned to us, his voice dripping with arrogance. Elijah, if you come with us now, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. Elijah stared at him coldly, not moving an inch. I felt inexplicably nervous and whispered, Hubby, sweetheart, love of my life, we're in this together. You won't abandon me, will you? Without turning his head, Elijah precisely grasped my hand. Our fingers intertwined. His voice was husky as he said, between us, only you have the right to leave me. It felt as if someone had plucked at my heartstrings. My eyes inexplicably began to sting. Honestly. Why did he have to say such things in public? I couldn't even properly play the role of an angry wife now. Just kidding, I still had to be the fierce one. How could I always let Elijah charge into battle for me? I held his hand, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. Then, I turned to face the idiot in black clothes and sunglasses opposite us. Barry Feldman, I told you those childhood vaccinations must have gone to your head, didn't I? Who do you think you're talking to? How dare you speak to my husband like that? Tell your people to sod off, or you'll regret it. Before I finished speaking, Elijah froze and slowly turned to look at me. Josie, you. The man in sunglasses opposite us also froze. Joe, you. I proudly lifted my chin. I've pretty much got my memory back, love. I even remember where your great-great-grandparents are buried. If you're still siding with my brother, I'll have your family graves dug up in no time. Things got out of hand. The traffic police arrived. The police arrived. My parents came too. Mom and Dad hugged me, sobbing uncontrollably. To be honest, the situation is just as it is. A pair of siblings from a wealthy family were feuding. The brother, humiliated by his defeat, became enraged and wanted to have his sister assassinated. However, before the assassination could take place, the sister got into a car accident and was taken away by the hitman, waiting for the right moment to strike. The brother thought he had the hitman under his complete control. Little did he know that due to my irresistible charm, the hitman not only switched sides but also helped me navigate through numerous crises. I couldn't help but sigh. That's just how it is for someone like me, a little princess who can create miracles wherever I go. As for my brother, that dark-hearted fellow, even with all his scheming, he was bound to fail. Especially when teamed up with idiots like Barry Feldman. In the corner, my brother was crouching, looking utterly defeated. Mom and Dad were furiously beating him. When Dad got tired, Mom took over. When both of them were exhausted, Elijah would step in to give them a precise massage, ensuring the two powerhouses had unlimited endurance. I sipped on a fresh, sweet apple and elderflower cordial and kindly intervened. Come on, Mom and Dad, stop hitting him. It won't be good if you kill him and get your hands dirty. After all, he's still my brother. Mom, still fuming, retorted, what brother? He's just the bastard child your uncle had with his mistress. I was kind enough to feed him, and he dared to plot against you. He deserves to die. Oh. I didn't know about that. As she spoke, Mom gave Dad's chair a hard kick. How are we going to handle this? Speak up now. Dad immediately said, send him abroad, send him abroad. Mom's eyebrows shot up. Is that all? Dad quickly added, to Myanmar, to Myanmar. Only then did Mom regain her composure as a lady, nodding gracefully. As for his female secretary, and Barry Feldman, all those who dared to participate, deal with them all. From the corner, my brother let out a terrified howl, kneeling at my feet and crying hysterically. Josie, Josie, please forgive me this once, I beg you. Elijah kicked him away with one foot. Oh, right, Elijah. Since I announced the recovery of my memory and my parents rushed to the scene, he had been standing silently behind me, like an unobtrusive backdrop. Only I knew that beneath his calm exterior, he was hiding a torrent of anxiety and uncertainty. After my brother was dragged away, my parents finally noticed Elijah. And who's this? My mom asked. I quickly said, this is my partner. My mom looked pleased. He's quite handsome. You've got better taste than me, dear. My dad's face was a picture of barely contained outrage, clearly thinking, Has my little princess really been swept off her feet by this admittedly good-looking bloke? Mom gave his chair another kick, prompting him to say something. Dad reluctantly spoke up, "So you're the hitman, then?" Elijah's back stiffened, his face turning pale. "Yes, sir." I shouted, "Dad!" Dad glared at me, clutching his chest dramatically. "What's all the shouting for? You'll give me a heart attack." I was about to criticize him further when Elijah gently tugged at my arm. His voice was low and hoarse. "I've done wrong, and I'm willing to face the consequences." I started to panic a bit. "What have you done wrong?" "Actions speak louder than words. You've been protecting me from the start. Not only have you not harmed me, but you've even helped me put on a few pounds." "You really haven't." "Josie," my mom interrupted, fixing her gaze on Elijah with an authoritative tone. "You're willing to do anything?" Elijah pressed his lips together and nodded. Mom said coolly, "Then your punishment is to be Josie's bodyguard for life. If she's in danger, you're the first to step up. If you die, she can't." Elijah looked up suddenly, incredulous. "Just that?" I added, "And be my beloved hubby for life." Mom chimed in, "A lifelong partner." I continued, "A lifelong mummy." Mom shocked. I quickly corrected myself, "I mean, a lifelong darling." It was a moonlit night, the silvery light dancing on the leaves of the willow trees. When I heard the sound of water from the bathroom, I suddenly went deaf to everything else. Ignoring all attempts to stop me, I pinned Elijah against the bathtub. The man's hair tips were dampened by the water. Droplets sliding down his face, past his neck, over his collarbone, and across his abs. Then I devoured them. The man let out a muffled groan, instinctively wanting to pull my hair. But in the next second, afraid of hurting me, he only tried to avoid me. I smiled mischievously, pressing closer. "Mummy, open your eyes and look at me." "Who am I?" "I want to hear you say my name." That porcelain-like body gradually turned red, like the sunset clouds outside the floor-to-ceiling window. So enchanting. Irresistible. Josie Green was indeed a naughty girl. Always tempting the abstinent to fall, making the self-controlled lose control. But fortunately, Elijah never disappointed Josie. Extra epilogue. Josie regained all her memories. So those past events were no longer remembered by Elijah alone. The accident scene wasn't their first encounter. Once, while touring the countryside, she witnessed some city folks knocking over an old lady's stall, and then trying to blame the grandmother and her grandson. Of course, the little queen couldn't stand such injustice and raised her voice, sending that car straight to the police station, while informing all her business partners of the incident. In ancient times, there were tales of emperors traveling in disguise. Today, there was Josie Green going incognito, always solving injustices, always winning the heart of her beloved. There are many romantic encounters in the world, but those between her and Elijah were far from simple. The little girl who stood with her hands on her hips, in front of the grandmother and grandson over a decade ago, gradually grew up. She became a force to be reckoned with in the business world, only to wither into a critically injured victim at the scene of a car accident. And that little boy she once protected had grown up too. Grown enough to have his own judgment, capable of extending a helping hand at that crucial moment, rather than a murderous one. Those nights spent by her bedside, caring for her without rest. It was enough to make an atheist want to pray to the heavens. Please, let her wake up. Later, when she finally opened her eyes, the first word out of her mouth was to call him hubby. Hubby this, hubby that. She complained that Elijah was too cold. But she didn't know how much Elijah had to restrain himself to overcome his instincts. Later, when Josie regained her memories, Elijah felt a hint of fear. Afraid of losing her, more afraid of her despising him. But she smiled slyly and started calling him Mummy again. Mummy this, Mummy that. Elijah could never resist her. The water rippled. The girl in the bathtub had fallen asleep from exhaustion, but her hand was still restlessly holding on to him. Elijah bent down to lift her up, gently dried her off, and carefully placed her on the bed. He tenderly kissed her forehead. "Sleep well, my little queen." I am willing to be your loyal subject for life. With all my heart.